Hello, everybody. I'm Chris Charbonneau, the Associate Publisher for SpinSheet Magazine, coming to you live from the SpinSheet World Headquarters. That's right. The only thing, not quite as, the only thing more boring than my living room is being here in the office. But we're back, which is a good thing. Things are kind of coming back to normal, but that doesn't mean we're not going to do our happy hours, but it just means we're not going to do them on Friday for this summer. We're going to do them on Mondays. Anyway, we're still sponsored by Mount Gay Rum. We still have cool and interesting topics. The only thing that's really changed now, still having a drink, but because I'm in the office, I have to have it in the appropriate container, just so no one knows. Yummy. So we have a very special guest tonight, Dario from Mount Gay, our brand ambassador, is going to be here to give us another specialty cocktail, his signature cocktail. So let's bring him on. Dario.
Chris, my guy, how's it going? Loving the chosen glassware for your in-office drink. Very inconspicuous. No one will ever know.
No one ever knows. It's been working for years.
Nice, man.
Yeah. So what are we making tonight, Dario?
We're making a cocktail called the Seabird, which is a play on a cocktail called the Jungle Bird, which was created back in the 1970s. A guy by the name of Jeffrey Ong at the Aviary Bar created it. And I said, you know what, based on everything that's going on with this one, I thought it would be really nice to do like a little play on it and bring it to life for laundry night. Yeah, because laundry night is that's a thing, man. And I really like the sound of that. So this is basically a nice cocktail to get you ready for this amazing discussion that you will be having this evening. And who knows, you just might be in the mood to do a little bit of laundry after that. Yeah. And as always, who knows, right? Majority of the time, we're always using the Mount Gay Black Barrel, as you already know. It's my favorite within the portfolio. I always make reference to the fact of it being like the best of both worlds, you know, so it's going to be amazing inside of this cocktail. So without further ado, I'm just going to get to it. So the ingredients in this particular cocktail, we have some pineapple juice, we have some lime juice, we have some pineapple syrup, or you could use some pineapple juice as well if you wanted to. And we're going to be using some bitter aperitivo as well, and that will be the ingredients for the Seabird. And as always, I try to keep it as simple as possible. The pineapple syrup is definitely something that you can make in the comfort of your home. You know, boil some sugar and water together, bring it to a boil, turn the stove down, chop up some pineapple chunks, drop it inside of there, let it cook for about 10-15 minutes, and you got yourself a nice little pineapple syrup coming to life. And it's artisanal because you would have made it yourself. Okay, so I'm not going to do much more talking. I'm just going to do some cocktail making, and obviously I'm always going to be starting with the start of the show. This cocktail calls for us to be using 2 ounces of Mount Gay Black Barrel rum, using 2 different types of barrels to bring all of this amazing flavors to life. And we're going to use those amazing flavors to bring out the deliciousness of this cocktail. So 2 ounces of the Mount Gay Black Barrel rum. We're going to be doing 1 ounce of lime juice. As always, as I say, rule of thumb, 1 lime should be giving you just about 1 ounce of lime juice. Fresh lime juice, always better. If you don't have fresh, that's okay, but it definitely does make a huge difference in the overall flavor profile of the cocktail. The flavors just mesh so much differently, and it just makes for a much more amazing drink and an amazing drinking experience as well, right? So I'm adding my ounce of lime juice, making sure I get all of that goodness out of there. And then I'm going to be adding some pineapple syrup. Just going to be using 3/4 of an ounce of my pineapple syrup. There we go. And I'm also going to be adding my bitter aperitivo. So this is definitely going to be giving you some notes of like herbs and spice, but it gives you like a really nice balanced bitterness that really brings the cocktail together amazingly. It's like the finishing touch, you could say. So 3/4 of an ounce of that. So equal ounces of my bitter aperitivo to my pineapple syrup. And the only thing left to do at this point in time is add my ice. So I'm adding a few drops of ice. And while I'm doing that, I'll probably add some ice to my glass as well. With my personalized ice scoop, only available in this apartment. You can't find it anywhere else. And now we're going to get ready for the final touch, which is the shake. All right. And the only thing left to do at this point in time is to pour. Really amazing color we're going to be getting. And obviously garnish wise, usually you would just garnish with like maybe a dried pineapple slice, or you could garnish with like a pineapple slice itself to really bring it to life. But that is what you would have as it relates to your seabird. And the only thing I have to do at this point in time is to taste. So cheers.
Cheers.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I think I keep saying it all the time. When it comes to adding rum to your cocktail, it's not always a case of being presented with the alcoholic aspect of the spirit. It's understanding that the rum does have a flavor, and that flavor is lending to the overall complexity of the drink and just making it an amazing experience. So the Seabird is there for you to enjoy on laundry night with SpinSheet.
Awesome. Thank you very much. You're gonna need to give me lessons on how to do that shake, by the way, because you beat the hell out of that drink.
Coming to a Zoom session near you very soon. How to shake.
Well, thank you very much, Dario. Great to see you. Hopefully, we'll see you again soon. And now we're going to go on and bring on Molly and our special guest Ridgely from North Sail talk about sail care.
Take care, Chris. Nice seeing you.
You too. Bye-bye. All right. Let's bring on Molly and Ridgely. There you guys go. Hi, guys.
Barb,
How's it going?
happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Nice to see Dario again. You know, he said that that'd be good to put a little, did he say a pineapple slice or something to garnish the drink? And I was thinking, well, you know, with that sort of a color, little umbrella would work very nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah, or, you know, find some sort of a little birds of paradise, you know, garnish kind of thing in there. Seabird.
Seabird!
Seabird!
Remember that.
Anyway, that's good. So Ridgely, welcome back to SpinSheet Happy Hour. You were on here once before, well over a year ago, in early COVID. We were talking about remote control sailing, and that was a long time ago now, right?
Yeah, a lot of things have changed since then.
Yeah, like life has come back, and people are busy on Friday nights, so we just have to rope them in on a Monday. For the summer anyway. We'll be back on Fridays in the fall. But so Sharb, are you going to stick around with us? Or are you going to go behind the scenes, be the man behind the curtain?
You know that's what I like to do. So
all right. Oh yeah. Hey, I forgot to say, I found a little rosé. I know it's not Mount Gay, but it seemed like a nice light little something for a Monday night. So how about you, Ridgely? What are you drinking over there in the North Sales headquarters?
Right now, I'm just drinking a little water, but
sure you
that.
Yeah, company guy. Yeah, just like Sharp. Little water and coffee, little Monday drink.
Okay.
All right, great. Well, thank you, Sharp, and we'll see you in a little while. Ridgely and I are going to talk about how to take care of your sales.
Sounds good.
So Ridgely, we had Jonathan Bartlett from North Sales on the show, I don't know, a few weeks back. And after we hung up, he said, you know, you ought to have Ridgely on to talk about self-care. And I said, that's a fantastic idea. And I wrote it on my list. So I was very happy to run into you in the deli and be able to rope you into a SpinSheet happy hour. So
yeah, happy to be back. So thank you.
I know. And, you know, it's hard to find an experienced sailor who's not busy today with the Annapolis Newport race going, or you know, someone who was down at Southern Bay Race Week over the weekend. I mean, there's just a lot on in this season. So, somehow you're the guy in the office. Is that because you took a little vacation last week?
Yeah, I took a little vacation over the weekend, so kept it easy. And somebody's got to be here to fix the sales.
Someone's got to do the hard work. So that's why they pay you the big bucks, right?
Wish.
So, let's start at the beginning. Why don't you tell us a little about your sailing background, and just sort of anyone who's out there watching in our audience, just give them a clue as to why you're an expert in sail care.
So I grew up here in Annapolis, started sailing at a young age, about 7 years old. Both my parents were sailmakers. My mom then went to become a canvas maker. So I spent a lot of my young childhood, summer times and after school, hanging out with my dad in the sail loft, kind of getting the feel of being around a loft. And as I got older, I became a sailmaker, and I've now been doing it for just about 10 years.
That's great. I didn't know you grew up a sail loft kid.
Oh, yeah. So,
what kind of sailing do you do these days?
mostly club racing and few one design boats, but just really enjoy the sport. So got to get out on anything I can.
Yeah, what are your one designs of choice these days?
I think one of my favorite one designs is the Naturals. J22s are a ton of fun, and I sail a little bit in the J111 class as well.
Okay, that's good. Good variety then. So when you're out there, when you're on the race course just for fun, when you look out at things that people are doing on the race course, like what are some of those things that make you think, oh gosh, don't do that. That is so bad. Don't do that to your sails. Or I'm sure that has to happen to you on a regular basis. I was just wondering what are some of the things that people do with their sails that you notice from afar?
From afar, one of the things I notice that bothers me the most would be when I see somebody just with their sails out and they're just flogging back and forth, constantly damaging the sails, taking the life out of them, putting a lot of stress on the areas that don't need that stress. If you're not going to have your sails trimmed in, put them away. Another thing would be just not tending to your sails when you're sailing. It kind of falls into the same thing of watching your sails flog. But if your sail's just luffing slightly, that's still not ideal, and that probably bothers me the most. Or when they hang up, when you have your sail your genoa backwinded into your spreader, that makes me cringe.
Yeah, I bet. Are there some other more subtle things that people do that you notice that maybe someone without an untrained eye wouldn't notice?
So like when you're finishing a race or something and you don't have furling sails and you deck drop your jib, put it in a bag. You don't know when you're going to start your next race. It could be a half hour, it could be 10 minutes, but when the sail's down on the deck, put it in the bag, get it out of the sun. Sun is the #1 killer to all sails. It's something, it takes a little bit of effort, but it goes a long way for the life of your sails. And it can help you prepare for the next start. Who knows, the wind might change and you need a different jib up.
I can see how that'd be so easy to say, we're going to start racing again here in a few minutes. Let's not bother with putting that back in a bag. But you think it makes a difference, huh?
I think it makes a difference in preparation, and it forces the crew to really take care of the sails. You don't just jam it in the bag. You get a couple people. Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 people, and you flake the sail neatly into the bag. Then it's ready to go next time you use it. It's not tied in a knot on the deck. It's not halfway fallen into the water because it wasn't in the bag or strapped down to the deck.
Yeah. Okay. So I think this is the one we might have some pictures for. What are 3 important things to remember when you're caring for your sails, or how do they differ by sail type?
So I think all the sails need to be protected from the sun. Like the photo Sharp here just put up is a sail that had some improper furling. Since the UV cover was white, they didn't quite know the sail wasn't protected because the cover is the same color as the sail. And they probably just had a bad furl where they didn't have sheet tension, but that caused sun damage to the inside of the sacrificial cover there. And the sun damage caused the sail to tear right on that hinge point. So making sure your sails are covered from the UV is huge. It's like I just said, it's the #1 killer of sails is UV damage. Another one would be making sure your sails are clean and dry when you put them away. It's not always the most possible thing. You might get stuck in a squall and your sails got rained on, but the next dry moment you have, hoist your sails up and let them dry, let them breathe a little bit. This sail here, you can see has excessive amount of mold on the leech and kind of all over the sail. And that's strictly from the sail not being dried and being put away wet frequently. Or it could have been one bad time, but that looks pretty rough. So those are two pretty important things. And then when you go down to when you leave your boat, making sure everything's tidied up and taking the extra 10 minutes to run around the boat, checking your lines, making sure your sails are furled, making sure they're covered, making sure you have a couple extra wraps when your sails are when your head sail's furled around the headstay. And this sail here, I mean, it got caught in a pretty bad storm, as you can imagine here, but it was furled up and the wind caught it. Probably didn't have a couple wraps on it. Wind caught the sail and the top of the furl was probably a little loose. And now you're looking at having to make an insurance claim to replace that sail.
Yeah, I mean, how many times all of us who live in waterfront communities at some point during a storm have looked out and seen someone's jib just getting ripped, just gone out.
Oh,
Bummer for them. Like that's an expensive mishap there.
yeah.
And and how about like in the case of storms, tropical storms and hurricanes that you know are coming?
So any large storm that you know is coming that's forecasted 2 weeks out, get down to your boat and get your sails off. You don't have to take them home, but put them below. If you have your mainsail on your boom, put some line around it and really cinch it down. Don't just rely on your cover. Wrap it up and make it tight. Take your head sail down, fold it up, put it down below. Really, I think if you know you're going to be away from your boat for a month or more, take your head sail down. You're going to get a lot more life out of the sail if you remove it every single time that you disappear from the boat for over a month. It's only a little bit extra work, but it saves your investment greatly.
You should have some sort of a dollars per minute sort of equation for putting this much extra work. It'll save you this many dollars. Because I'm thinking like it's just people get lazy or busy and they forget like, oh wow, there's some weather rolling in. I should go take care of that. Or I would so be the person who's like, yeah, we're just about to race again. Let's not bother putting that boat in a bag on deck. So I know we put it in the comments, but if anyone has any questions for Ridgely when it comes to sail care, feel free to put them up there. Even if we're not on that topic, we'll get to it in time. So was there anything else you had to say by sail type or important things to remember about caring for sails before we move on to talk a little about chafing?
So I think just making sure your sails are covered. So your mainsail, you have your boom cover, or if it's a furling main, making sure it's furled all the way into the UV cover. And for your Genoas, if they're furled, make sure that the UV is protecting the sail. A spinnaker, just make sure you're putting it away dry. Biggest thing. All the sails should be dry, but the spinnaker, it's so easy. You might have dipped in the water and scooped up water. It doesn't release that water. And now you're stuffing it down below your boat, and next time you get down
dump
there,
out the shrimp.
Yeah, exactly.
Before you dry it off.
Yeah, it's really important to make sure your sails are dry.
For anyone who's just tuning in, this is Ridgely McKenzie from North Sails. He's talking a bit about sail care and sail repair. What are some high chafe areas on sails that sailors should keep an eye on or work to protect? Sort of common high chafe areas.
I would say your spreaders, any overlapping head sail, your spreaders, you should make sure your spreaders are taped. Anytime the sail passes the mast, you need to make sure you have spreader patches on your sails, tape on your spreaders, and you should be all right. You'll still see some chafe on the patches, but if they're installed in the right place, you're pretty safe. Your stanchions are another spot. Especially when you're doing a little bit more reaching, cruising, and the sail hangs out over the stanchions. You want to make sure there's patches on the sail for the stanchions. Anything that's on your mast, that's a steaming light, a radar, anything that's aloft, that's forward of the mast is in danger of the jib chafing on. And then kind of the same with the mainsail. It doesn't come into play as much because the only time it really touches the spreaders is when you're off the breeze. but still making sure you have spreader patches on your main. If you're doing some offshore sailing, go through all your reefs and make sure that when you reef the sail down, there's a spreader patch for the reef, because you don't always reef down to a storm sail. You still have a good bit of sail up, and you might need a spreader patch in a different location. So,
have you checked in at all at the Annapolis Newport race? Is anybody reefing out there? Are they getting any wind out there?
I know at least Chessie finished. I haven't checked yet today. So I checked this morning, but next boat was about 45 miles out. So I'm sure they finished by now.
All right. Anything else to say about chafing? Anything else you should keep your eye on that we haven't brought up about chafing?
Maybe checking your attachment points on your sail. So where your halyard clips into, if you have webbing that's just a webbing loop, making sure that your shackle hasn't chafed through the webbing, making sure it's not completely dried out. Anything that is stiff and dry is more susceptible to chafe. So taking a look at all your attachment points of your sail is an important area as well.
Okay. And I do see that we have a question, and that is a question. Well, we'll just jump on it right now. Sail conditioning versus buying new. I'm sure that's a question you get all the time. People trying to stretch their sails out, well, so to speak.
So one of the kind of rule of thumb that I would say for me is when you're approaching spending a third of the cost of a new sail, it's time to consider. When you're approaching when you're at half the cost of a new sail, it's probably time to splurge and get the new sail. And this is for sail repairs. When your sailmaker tells you that, oh, it's going to be $1,500 to do all this work, and a new sail is only $3,000, and your sail's 7 or 8 years old, it's probably time to just go ahead and get a new sail. Now, general repairs, yeah, keeping up with the sail, as long as you're doing it on a regular basis, the repairs aren't that expensive. They're fairly simple, not easy, but you'll save yourself with regular maintenance, and you won't find yourself having to recondition sails so much and go through that large expenses.
Can you explain to us what the process of reconditioning is?
Well,
just out of curiosity, I think I know what it is, but what do you do when you recondition a sail for someone?
So we take a look at the sail and we'll go over the entire sail, but it's really different based on what kind of boat, what their sailing is, and the age of the sail. So head sail, the most common thing for a head sail recondition would be replacing the UV cover, replacing the corner webbings, which are your attachment points. And that's something that 5 to 8 years is the average life of a UV cover. So when you buy a new sail, you expect in 5 years, you're going to have to replace a UV cover. Inside of the 5 years, probably at about 3 years, you'll have to restitch the UV cover. And if you don't restitch it and the stitching falls out, you're going to end up spending a good bit more money than just restitching it while the cover's attached. For a mainsail, the biggest thing is there's not too much reconditioning of it unless you're changing your use of it or changing the type of boat that it's for. You might add a reef point to a mainsail, you might replace a few slides, but for the most part, their mains are pretty solid. It's the head sails that need the most love.
Okay, great. How often should sailors bring in their sails for cleaning or inspection?
I think good rule of thumb is every other year you bring in one sail. So rotating, 1 year you bring in your mainsail, the next year you bring in your Genoa, and that way you have a system. You're not committing to having a big expense every other year. You're doing half the expense every year. And then if you did a big season, if you did some coastal sailing, bring both of them in. If you sailed lightly and just did day sailing, every other year is perfect. You'll save a lot of heartache if you follow that guideline.
What is there a good season? I mean, what do you slammed with that?
So most sales come in, at least in our area, since we're a seasonal place. We have winter service where nobody's using their boats in the wintertime except for the frostbiters, which is awesome. It's some of the best sailing, but nobody's using their boats. Everything's winterized, shrink wraps on, your boat covers on, and give us a few months to get the sails going, and they'll be ready by spring. Now, if you notice, if you're on the opposite side, we're pretty slow come July, August. It's kind of our slow time in the sail loft. Everybody's out playing with their stuff. They have their gear, they have their toys, and they're out using it. So if you find yourself sailing more deeper into the fall or earlier into the spring, maybe midsummer is the best time to bring it in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's very situational to your use of your vessel.
Yeah. Well, I actually know some sailors who might go elsewhere for a month in the middle of the summer. Maybe they have a house somewhere else, or they travel with family, or, they're lucky to have a boat somewhere else.
Yeah.
But
the
yeah,
best
so that's
time
good.
is
Good to know in the middle of the summer you have a window there.
Yeah, quite honestly, the best time is the best time for the customer is when they have scheduled downtime away from their boat. Gives us a little bit of room to breathe and get the repairs done.
So when these sales come into you, I'm sure you see some homemade repair jobs. I'm sure some of them are pretty good, and some of them might be a little bit laughable. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the patch jobs that you see on sales?
Yeah, so I think one of the most frustrating things seen is a sail come in with duct tape on it. It's worthwhile to either go into your sail maker and ask for some sail repair tape, or go to West Marine and find some sail repair tape and some thread and a palm. But duct tape is just not the answer, because typically when we have to pull duct tape off the sail, it's going to tear the sail more. When you're doing a sail repair, think about it. It's better to take your time and do it neat and not just slap it together, because then when it comes in for service, we have to spend time deconstructing, especially if it's a messy repair. We have to spend the time deconstructing it. It's not always the quickest thing to do. So, and like I said, with the duct tape, or depending on the general condition of the sail around the repair, it could end up making the damage larger. So my biggest suggestion would be invest in some insignia tape. You can go to your local sailmaker or go to West Marine. Sailrite has it online. I'm pretty sure you can find it on Amazon. It's great stuff to have. It's strong. It sticks very well, and it's relatively cheap.
Yeah. How about homemade sew jobs? I happened to be on a Naval Academy boat one day. They just let me go out on the boat one afternoon with the team and talked a little bit about leadership and the team. And I remember right before we were to head out, there was a little rip in the sail, and they took it down, and someone brought out a sail repair kit, and somebody was stitching something up. I mean, they did this emergency sail repair and put the sail back. It was actually quite impressive, especially for these young people who had never been on a sailboat 3 weeks before then.
I think, if you have the ability, if you have the tools, the palm and the needle, by all means, especially if one of your attachment points breaks, like a piece of webbing came unstitched and ripped out, you could sew it right back in. You just do a couple rows of straight stitch, and it'll hold, and you'll be able to go out and play with your boat until you're able to bring the sail in. But once again, go ahead.
What do you wish more people knew about what you do?
I wish more people understood the labor side of our job. It can be very labor intensive. The job is simple, but it's not easy. So it's really simple to talk about. Oh, just stick this here and then sew it down. There's a lot more detail and work involved in there, especially when you have to remove pieces and pin the sail out flat, make it right. It's not it's not just an easy thing to do.
Well, I don't see any more questions coming in from the audience. So why don't we, if there are any final things you want to talk about when it came to sale care or repair, or how to care for your sales so you don't have to repair them. Anything we didn't touch on that comes to mind?
Not too much. I mean, the biggest points are keeping the sales out of the sun, keeping them dry, and doing your best to keep them clean. If you do those three things, you're going to run into few problems.
Flaking of sales or rolling of sales. Do you have
Oh, that's a good
tips
point
on that sort of thing?
Yeah, so it's okay if you can't flake the sail properly on the boat when you're taking the sail down, but take the time after you get the sail down and lay it out in a parking lot, a field, or on the dock, and just flake it neatly. That will prolong the life of the sail as opposed to just balling it up. I mean, think about what happens to a piece of paper when you crumple the paper up and you just keep crumpling it up. It turns from a nice stiff piece of paper to tissue paper. Same thing that happens with your sails. So if you can take the time, rolling is always better than flaking, but it's not the most practical and really defeats the purpose if you roll the sail and it's 15 feet long and then you fold it a couple times. Now you're just putting crease lines straight through, vertical crease lines straight through your sail. So my suggestion is just take the time, flake them neatly, and then they're small. They're a lot smaller when you flake them too. So it's easier to store, it's easier to carry around, and you can find a nice place in your basement, your home. But taking time to flake them properly, like I said, you don't have to get it right on the boat, but if you can't get it right on the boat, just take it to the end of the dock, flake it.
Oh, we've got a couple of questions here. I was just about to launch into one more, but let's bring on the audience questions. If we have to clean our sail, which should we use or not use? Thank you, Thomas.
I like to use OxyClean, warm water and OxyClean. Don't really stay away from bleach or any other solvents. If it's a tough like grease stain, maybe try a little denatured alcohol, but don't use acetone. Don't use anything that could dig in and potentially start the rotting process of the fabric. Even though it evaporates out of there, it gets into the threads, and it's just overall not good for the sail. OxyClean, a scrub brush, and a light pressure washer is the best way to go about it. That's how the pros do it.
Right. Good question, good answer. And Pete has a question. What are the signs that your sales may no longer be competitive besides obvious deterioration?
Looking at the shape of your sails, if the draft is too far aft, if the sail may have shrunk, all sails shrink, so making sure that it's still the proper size and the shape hasn't distorted because of the shrinkage. If you're talking, I mean, really, kind of stole my answer with the obvious deterioration, because that's the first sign right there is the deterioration. That's time to go, especially if you're trying to be a competitive sailor.
Thank you, Pete, for that question. I don't know that. Oh, good. This whole question will show up in this program. Hi, Isabel. I have a few Mylar head sails that I don't use often because I have a roller furler, but sails lack a protective leech strip. Is it better to have one stitched on or have a sail cover made for the whole sail, the type that zips from head to foot?
So if you have a Mylar sail, I would suggest you could do a PSA UV cover. Those work pretty well. That's a stick-on UV cover, but quite honestly, the best thing to do and the cheapest thing to do, since you have multiple Mylar sails, would be to purchase a jib sock and have one of those made. But make sure with the jib sock you have the lashing in it, so when the sail goes up or when the sock goes up, you lash it tight so it doesn't flog around. And if it's not tight and it flogs around, you'll probably end up ripping the cover and then having to repair that. But I would say a jib sock is the best answer for that. especially when you're dealing with multiple sales. You buy one product that works for 3 sales as opposed to spending $1,000 on 3 different sales.
How do I avoid chafing the jib against the inner forestay of the Stasil? Thanks, Ron.
How do you avoid chafing the jib? The best answer to that is furl the sail. Every time you tack or every time you switch tacks or jibes, furl the sail. It's a little bit of work, but that's about the only way. If you have a, I like to keep the staysail on the inner stay because it adds a little bit of padding to it, but then you're risking chafing the staysail itself. So the best answer is furl the sail. That's all.
I'm hearing a common theme here. Everything takes a little work.
Yes.
Keeping your sail safe takes a little work. Yeah.
Exactly. It's worth the work to protect your investment because your sails they're more than just new tires for your car. They're your engine above the water. So it's worth bringing them in for the oil change.
Talk a little bit about various socks options that are available these days. I know there are more than one type of sock out there.
Like a jib sock. So
yeah, I mean, I could be using the wrong terminology, but I feel like there's more out there than just the jib sock you were describing.
Yeah, there's a jib sock. Then that's the UV protected zipped up material that will get hoisted with the sail. Then there's, I guess, the next sock item would be a Spinnaker Snuffer, which is a great option for the cruisers. It's really simple to just hoist the sail up with the sock, with the snuffer covering the sail, and then you hoist the snuffer up and the sail deploys. That way you don't have to, especially if you're just sailing with you and your wife, it's a lot simpler. It makes life easy. Simplifying sailing is the.
Uh-oh. Ridgely, where'd you go? Sorry, we lost Ridgely.
I know. I noticed that.
We're in the middle of talking about Spinnaker Snuffers.
I think he got a phone call.
Here he comes. Ridgely, you are so popular. Every time you get a phone call, you disappear.
So that wasn't a phone call that time. That was just a straight kicked me off.
Oh, well. Anyway, we're glad you came back.
Yeah, it was easy to get back to. So
we were talking about Spinnaker Snuffers.
Yeah, so the Spinnaker Snuffer, it just makes life simple. The sail's contained when you first put it up. You're not worrying about it blowing away from the boat, or you can take your time hoisting. You can do a slow hoist and then get all your lines set, double check everything, make sure it's rigged right, then deploy the snuffer and you're off sailing. So I think snuffers are great options.
Right. Anything else there on the foredeck that you can think of?
Can't really think of too much to go along with the sock
theme.
Yeah.
Well, my question for you was just sort of what you're excited about when it comes to sail technology these days. I know there's always something new coming out, and you get to learn about all that stuff just because where you are. Is there anything you're excited about these days, or any trends that you see that we should know about?
I mean, our 3D eye sails are amazing. Their strength and their longevity is pretty impressive. But at this point, it's not really new technology for us because we've had it for multiple years. I think our Helix load sharing, furling code zeros and furling spinnakers are pretty impressive, where you take about half the weight of the sail out just because you're replacing the cable and the sail's doing more work and the cable's doing less work. So that's a pretty cool technology that people should check out.
How about for cruising sailors? I know a lot of people on here are racing sailors, but anything new and exciting there? Any trends you see when it comes to cruising sails?
Everybody's going for the furling spinnakers, the furling reaching spinnakers, and kind of the same deal. It's the trickle down from racing to cruising. As you develop it in racing, then you find a way to fit it into the cruising aspect. So same deal as cruisers, check out the Helix load sharing. Your sail's a lot lighter. You don't have to have 2 or 3 people carrying it up on deck just to deploy it. You could pretty easily pick it up yourself for almost any 40-footer.
That's a big bonus right there.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing all your knowledge about sail care. Anything you're excited about this summer? Just sailing events that you're going to that you're psyched about?
Actually, I have
Here or elsewhere?
I have a pretty empty sailing schedule right now. I've got some things going on, but I'm excited to do some local distance races. Boomerang race is one of my favorite races.
Yeah, it's coming. I think that's July 11th this year, around there. It might be the 12th. Don't quote me on that, but I know that's about that date.
Exactly. Doing some of the local distance races. There's the Labor Day Regatta is always a ton of fun. So then as we get into the fall series where we start getting breeze back into the bay, and the ORC event after that. So those are all fun events.
Calendar this year. I even before things sort of rapidly opened up, but even before they did, there was I thought, wow, we have a lot of regattas to cover. There's a lot of action on the water, and it's not like that everywhere. The Chesapeake, we're really lucky that we had it going last year, and we really have it going this year. So hope everybody is being out there sailing.
There's been a big boom. I mean, everybody's out there using their stuff, and there's a lot of new people in the sport. So it's really cool to see.
Yeah. So Ridgely, if someone out there in our audience wants to get in touch with you and ask you a question or talk about their sales, or maybe getting in here in this summer window and having some sail repair or sail care done, how can they find you at North Sails?
You can call the office. You can email me, or you can call my cell phone. I believe my cell phone's posted on our North Sails website. If you go to northsails.com and go to find a loft, you'll be able to pick your local Annapolis loft, and I'll pop up as one of the sail experts.
Yeah, and the phone number is also in the ad in the SpinSheet magazine.
Great.
So, so anyway, Ridgely, thank you. It's last call. We don't have to make up questions. We covered everything. Thank you to the audience for asking such good questions. And hopefully you'll come back and join us for another happy hour. And Sharb, you're muted.
You were talking.
I thought I'd jump on that before you said hi again.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're signing off. It's last call.
I guess we're signing off. All I wanted to say, besides thanks again to Ridgely for being our guest, was that our next SpinSheet Summer Laundry Night is on Monday, July 12th. And we're going to be asking everything you've always wanted to ask the race committee, but were afraid to ask.
Ooh,
that's gonna be a fun
we have
one.
a couple of seasoned race committee members coming on to share some of their secrets of what they learn about sailing through being on race committee, and what they wish you knew about being on race committee. So hopefully you racers will show up on that Monday night. An excuse to have a drink on a Monday night. We are happy to provide that while you do your laundry. Have a drink on the SpinSheet happy hour. So
I'll tell you what, I'm tuning into that one. But cheers.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, stick around. Even though it's Monday, there's still a party in the green room. So
party in the green room. All right, I'll see you there, Ridgely.
All right, folks. Well, thanks very much for joining us on a Monday. We know that we kind of threw that out there, but glad you could show up. And of course, special thanks to Mount Gay Rum for sponsoring the Summer Laundry Night. So just like Molly said, the next program is going to be next episode is going to be July 12th. And what being on race committee can teach you, which I think is actually going to be really cool. So until next time, please be safe and get out up on the water, and we'll see you then. Take care.